Let's dive into the unforgettable, uphill journey of a man who came from the dusty streets of Pennsauken Township and carved his name into boxing history. Not just with his fists, but with the kind of fire most people only dream about. This is the real, raw story of Jersey Joe Walcott, a name born out of struggle, love for his roots, and an unshakable will to rise. He was born Arnold Cream, the son of a hard-working father from the Danish West Indies and a mother from the tight-knit community of Jordantown, New Jersey. Life didn't offer him much mercy. At just 15, young Arnold faced something no kid should. His father passed away. Just like that, the weight of the entire household dropped on his teenage shoulders. 11 younger siblings, a grieving mother, and barely enough money to keep the lights on. School, that became a luxury. Arnold quit and went straight to work, slaving away in a soup factory, stirring steaming vats day in and day out, just to put food on the table. He wasn't dreaming about fame or glory back then. He was just trying to survive. But something inside him still burned. Maybe it was when he'd shadowbox in the alleys behind the factory. Or maybe it was those quiet moments thinking about his idol, Joe Walcott, the welterweight champion from Barbados. That man inspired him so deeply that Arnold took his name, added Jersey in front of it, and vowed to make it mean something. At just 16 years old, Jersey Joe Walcott stepped into the ring for the first time as a pro. September 9, 1930. His opponent was Eddie "Cowboy" Wallace, and Walcott dropped him in the very first round. A knockout. Just like that, Jersey Joe was off and running. But this wasn't one of those fairy tale climbs to the top. Far from it. The 1930s were rough. Walcott had no real trainer, no manager, no plan. He was taking fights when he could, training however he could, losing more often than he should have. He managed to beat Elmer Ray, but lost twice to Tiger Jack Fox and got knocked out by Abe Simon in 1940. That knockout hit hard, not just physically but mentally. Walcott disappeared from the ring for more than 4 years. The world was at war. And Walcott, he was working again, trying to keep food on the table. But he wasn't done. In 1944, something shifted. Walcott came back and picked up 2 wins. Nothing huge, just local fights. But they were enough to catch the eye of a man named Felix Baciccio. Now, Felix wasn't a saint. He had a past. But he believed in Walcott. He didn't just throw him a bone. He gave Walcott the chance of a lifetime. For the first time, Jersey Joe had real trainers, Nick and Dan Florio. These guys had worked with world champions. They taught him to move smarter, punch sharper, and control the ring like a chess master. They didn't just build a fighter, they built a thinking machine in gloves. Come 1945, Walcott was back for real. And this time, he wasn't just showing up, he was dominating. He started mowing down contenders. Joe Baxi, Jimmy Bivens, Lee Oma, Tommy Gomez. He fought anyone, anywhere. Sure, he stumbled again in 1946. He lost to Joey Maxim and again to Elmer Ray. But what did Jersey Joe do? He came right back in 1947 and beat them both. No excuses, no ducking. He avenged every loss and climbed all the way to #1 heavyweight contender in the world. This wasn't luck. This was a man who spent years in the dark, sweating in soup factories, raising siblings, walking away from the sport, and then coming back sharper than ever. Walcott's story wasn't about talent handed on a silver platter. It was about staying in the fight, long after the world thinks you're done. Every punch he threw was loaded with the weight of a hard life. Every victory a gift to the family he sacrificed for. This is the part of Jersey Joe Walcott's story where the world finally saw the fire that had been burning inside him since those soup factory days. This is where the old fighter from the dusty streets of New Jersey stepped into the biggest spotlight in the world and nearly shocked it to its core. It was December 5th, 1947. Walcott was 33 years old. Not exactly young for a title shot, especially not in those days. But Joe Louis, the man he was facing, wasn't much younger. The difference? Louis had been champ for over 10 years. He wasn't just the king, he was the whole kingdom. This was the 24th time Louis had defended his crown. Most guys didn't make it to the front steps. Walcott was walking into the throne room. But this wasn't some wide-eyed challenger, hoping for a lucky punch. This was a man who'd been through it, who'd lost close fights, taken dead-end jobs, raised a family, and rebuilt himself from scratch. When that bell rang in Madison Square Garden, Jersey Joe didn't back up. He dropped Lewis in the very first round. Boom, right hand, down goes the champ. Then again in round 4. The crowd couldn't believe it. The man who was supposed to be a warm-up was schooling the legend. But when the final bell rang after 15 brutal rounds, the judges stunned the world. Split decision, Lewis wins. Gasps filled the garden. Reporters jumped out of their seats. The crowd booed. Most fans and boxing writers thought Jersey Joe had done more than enough to take it. The only man to score the fight for Walcott was the referee, Ruby Goldstein, who overnight became a kind of folk hero. His mailbox overflowed with letters and telegrams. People called for rule changes. It was chaos. Joe Louis himself disappeared from the public for a few days. And when he returned, all he said was, "I know Ruby." He calls it like he sees it. That should be good enough for anybody. But the controversy did something incredible. It made Jersey Joe a household name. And even better, it made a rematch inevitable. Fast forward to June 25th, 1948. The second battle with Lewis was even more anticipated. Once again, Walcott dropped the champ, this time in round 3. But Lewis, sensing his crown slipping, dug deep. He came back strong and finally put Walcott down in round 11. It was over. Joe Louis had made his final title defense and would soon retire. But Walcott, he wasn't done, not even close. With Louis gone, the heavyweight throne was empty. On June 22nd, 1949, Walcott got his third shot, this time against the slick, technical Ezzard Charles. It was another 15-round war, but Charles edged him out. That made 3 times Jersey Joe had been this close and come up short. But he didn't sulk. He didn't walk away. He fought 5 more times in 1950. One of those wins was a brutal knockout of Harold Johnson, who'd later become a champion himself. Walcott wasn't just hanging around. He was climbing again. March 7th, 1951. Another shot at Charles. Another 15-round battle. Walcott fought tough, but a left hook in the 9th round changed everything. He survived, but Charles took the win again. That was 4 title fights for losses. Most men would have quit, called it a career, walked into the sunset. Not Walcott. Just 4 months later, July 18th, 1951, they met again, Walcott's 5th title shot. And something was different. He was sharper, faster, angrier. He controlled the fight from the opening bell. And in round 7, he dropped Charles cold. Jersey Joe Walcott was finally the heavyweight champion of the world, at age 37, the oldest man to ever win it. The same man who once stirred vats in a soup factory to feed his siblings was now sitting on top of the fight game. But it wasn't over yet. He defended the crown on June 5th, 1952, beating Charles again in their 4th and final fight, this time by decision. He had the belt, the respect, and the revenge. All that was left was to keep it. Rocky Marciano, undefeated, hungry, dangerous. On September 23rd, 1952, Walcott put his title on the line against this rising force. And what did the old champion do in round 1? He dropped Marciano, the first man ever to do so. He boxed beautifully, racking up rounds. By the 13th, Walcott was winning on 2 of 3 cards. He just had to survive. But Marciano never stopped coming. Then it happened. They both threw right hands. Walcott's missed by a blink. Marciano's didn't. It crushed Walcott on the jaw. The old champ collapsed, his arm draped over the ropes, slowly folding to the mat. The belt was gone. One more fight. May 15th, 1953. The rematch. Walcott tried, but the fire that burned so long had finally run low. Marciano knocked him out in the first round. And just like that, Jersey Joe Walcott's incredible journey through boxing came to an end. But let's be clear, he didn't walk out as a loser. He walked out as a man who never stopped fighting, no matter how many times life knocked him down. He became champion not because someone handed him a shot, but because he earned it. Over decades of struggle, loss, and second chances. He proved that it's never too late. That heart beats harder than hype. That a man from a soup factory can rise, fall, and rise again, all the way to the top of the world. Even after hanging up the gloves, Jersey Joe Walcott didn't fade into the background. That just wasn't who he was. The spotlight may have dimmed for most ex-fighters, but Walcott wasn't ready to disappear. If anything, he just swapped the boxing ring for a different kind of stage. Let's rewind to 1956. Walcott steps into the bright lights of Hollywood, trading punches for camera angles. He wasn't just playing a part, he was living it. In The Harder They Fall, a gritty boxing drama, he stood shoulder to shoulder with Humphrey Bogart and Max Baer. That wasn't just acting, it was real life echoing through the big screen. Jersey Joe brought the same heart, soul, and fire he used in the ring to every scene. But he wasn't done chasing excitement. In 1963, he stepped into the world of pro wrestling. That's right, at an age when most men are slowing down, Walcott was still throwing hands. He faced off against the legendary Lou Thesz. Now, Thesz won the match, sure, but let's not skip the wild part. According to Thesz himself, Walcott knocked him out during the bout. As Thesz crumpled to the mat, pure instinct made him wrap up Walcott's legs and take him down for a pin. Even in losing, Walcott made a mark. And speaking of the ring, he wasn't done there either. Walcott stepped into the referee's shoes and started officiating some of the biggest fights in the world. But one match in particular sealed his name in boxing lore forever. Muhammad Ali vs. Sonny Liston II in 1965. The rematch, the famous Phantom Punch fight. Walcott was the third man in the ring, but chaos took over. When Liston went down, Ali wouldn't go to a neutral corner. Walcott was trying to get control, trying to sort out the confusion. He looked ringside for the official count. Ali and Liston kept moving, not waiting for orders. Then, without warning, Walcott waved the fight off. Just like that, it was over. The crowd was stunned. The headlines exploded. That moment, messy, confusing, unforgettable, marked the end of Walcott's career as a top-level referee. But it was so Jersey Joe, right in the thick of it, always where history was being made. And still, he wasn't done. After leaving the ring for good, Walcott went back to where it all started, Camden County, New Jersey. But this time, he was trying to change lives from inside the system. He worked for the County Corrections Department, keeping people on track instead of knocking them off balance. In 1968, he ran for sheriff. He didn't win, but the man had never let a loss keep him down before, and this was no different. That same year, he was named Director of Community Relations for Camden, helping build bridges in a city that needed it. Then came 1971. Walcott ran for sheriff again, and this time, he won. He beat the odds once more and became the first black sheriff in Camden County history. From a soup factory kid to the heavyweight crown to the badge. Still not finished, he climbed even higher. In 1975, he became chairman of the New Jersey State Athletic Commission, one of the most powerful roles in boxing on the East Coast. For nearly a decade, Walcott helped shape the sport he loved, staying involved until the mandatory retirement age of 70. He lived a full life, not just a fighter, but a father, a leader, a trailblazer, and a symbol of second chances. And in time, the boxing world gave him the flowers he earned. He was inducted into the International Boxing Hall of Fame, joining the legends whose names will never be forgotten. When he passed away in 1994 at age 80, it wasn't just a former champ who left us. It was a man who fought every battle that came his way, whether it was in the ring, in a courtroom, or in the streets of his hometown. He never let the lights go out on his story, because Jersey Joe Walcott didn't just win a title. He lived like a champion. So when you think of Jersey Joe Walcott, don't just picture a fighter. Picture a man who kept showing up in and out of the ring. From a teenage boy holding down a soup factory job to feed his family, to an aging boxer chasing glory well into his 30s, to a sheriff, actor, referee, and leader, Walcott never stopped pushing forward. He took every hit life threw at him and kept moving, always with that quiet fire burning in his chest. He may have started with nothing, but he left behind a story that will never be forgotten. Jersey Joe wasn't just a champion with gloves. He was a champion at life.